So I'm delighted to welcome you all for the last of this second series of Radical Thinking for Radical Times. Here in very autumnal, locked down Manchester, and I know some of you are also in other locked down regions or about to be. So we all need some joy and inspiration. I'm just thrilled to see people from all over joining us. So my name is Sally Hobbs and I'm the Vice Chair of the Pankhurst Trust, and within the Pankhurst Trust one of the great services that we offer is Queen Bee Coaching, and I currently chair the steering group for that service. I suppose the thing about Queen Bee Coaching, it's about 2 years old. We developed this series to spread the word about it because we want women who need coaching and perhaps have never been able to access it to access it through us. We have loads of incredibly fantastic experienced volunteer coaches, all giving of their time free and all providing high quality professional coaching to women who want to lead and make a difference and lead change. So whether that's in your community, in the charities, corporate sector, whatever. So we know that by providing coaching, especially to women who face more disadvantages than others, like, for example, barriers of racism, social or economic or educational disadvantages, we're accelerating those women's skills and their confidence, because confidence really is what a lot of this is about, to lead and influence change in their world. And it can be life-changing. So there's going to be a link coming up on your screens. If you think that you personally would like to apply for a coach, or you know somebody who would, please do click the link on the box now. Just a few words about the Pankhurst Trust as a whole. Queen Bee is part of that, but it's just one aspect of our work. We're also a charity that manages the historic home of the Pankhurst family, where the suffragette movement was started. So it's got a very proud heritage about women's equality and fighting and championing women's equality. But we take direct action to support women, to make sure that women achieve the equality that we're aiming for, or at least fight for it. One of the things that we also do is we are the largest specialist provider of domestic abuse services in Greater Manchester. And in COVID times, we're working with women who've experienced things nobody should have to experience ever. And we're always working with women in that situation. But in COVID times, the demand has gone through the roof. The demand for refuge spaces, places of safety where lives are saved, has gone through the roof. And we're asking for your help to donate if you can afford to today, because the women and children we're supporting during this period are going through all the trauma of domestic abuse, and they're going through the traumas that we're all going through around lockdown, self-isolation, all of those things. And many of them are not only traumatized, but in extreme poverty. So all this has increased the cost to our charity. Just imagine, for example, the difficulties for women in refugees asked to self-isolate in response to someone with COVID, and the time and care that our staff have had to take to ensure refugees are super clean, everyone is safe, and they're supported through taking tests, sometimes not with great language skills. So it's a lot of extra work that we've taken on, and staff have done it willingly. If you do have some available donation that you can make today, there will be a link, and we'd be very welcome to donate. £5 would make a big difference per person to the overall sum. We are happy to say we've already been able to pass on £1,500 from donations made and sponsorship made during this series. So that's fantastic. Just keep it coming, guys. Okay, I'm just going to say the last bit, which is really today's chance for some inspiration and positive thinking. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm truly thrilled that we've partnered with the Women's Sports Trust, as I said, for these events have been really inspirational. And I'm looking forward to hearing from our athletes today. Please put any questions for our athletes in the chat box with a Q at the front so we can find them, and then Carol Ann, our interviewer, can pick them up. You can follow this talk on social media under hashtag, we've got that bit, Queen Bee Radical Talks, and on the socials as @QBC Pankhurst. Those will also be in your chat box. Sadly, it's the final talk in the series, but do sign up, please, to be kept informed, because there will be more series coming up. We've already been talking about some opportunities for that, so I think those will be going to be exciting. And also we are working on subtitles for YouTube videos for all of these. They're all going to be on YouTube. I think, again, we'll be able to put a link to the YouTube channel videos on our chat box, so you can go to those. Now, let me stop talking and introduce Carol Ann. Carol Ann Whitehead is our interviewer today. She is the Managing Director of the Zebra Partnership. She is a Royal Society of Arts Fellow and Director of Black United Representation Network, as well as a lecturer, an influential presenter, a speaker. She's hosting a United Nations call on Friday. In fact, it's easier to say what she doesn't do. But her drive, enthusiasm and passion is infectious. Over to you, Carol.
Oh, that was a fantastic welcome. Thank you, Sally. I'll tell you what I don't do. What I don't do is have control over my cockatiel, Rocky. That's what I don't have. I don't have control over him. So if you hear him in the background, please, he's in the other room. He's in the dining room. There's nothing I can do about it. He's excited about this series as well. And you might hear my Shih Tzu as well, Milo. He will say something at some point. So therefore, I'm not Dr. Dolittle. I cannot control animals. Welcome to the last one in the series of Radical Talks. I'm going to go right into it, and welcome to basketball player Siobhan Prior. She made her England debut at the 2018 Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in Australia, winning a silver medal. Best place to win it on the Gold Coast. Siobhan is the captain of Nottingham Wildcats and has led them to numerous British championships. In 2019, she received Basketball England's Inspiring Female of the Year award for the work she does to promote basketball for all, using the sport to help those she works with become better players and people. Can we have a welcome to Siobhan?
Hi guys. I don't see anyone anymore.
Over to Marilyn. Marilyn Okoro is the Olympic bronze medal winning athlete. She was the bronze winning 400-meter relay team at the 2007 World Championships and represented Great Britain at the Beijing Olympic Games in 2008. I'll make you smile now. You and I have got something in common. I used to be an athlete.
What was your event?
My event was 4x100 relay. Yeah. I did hurdles for a season. Yeah. And I was mentored by Daley Thompson. That is not a lie. That is not a lie.
Daley is the man. Oh my gosh.
Daley is the man. And I went to the Commonwealth Games, right? And I lost. And I've been dressed ever since.
Yeah, we are linked for sure.
we are linked for sure. Yeah. And my cousin is Darren Campbell.
I love Darren. Yeah, oh my gosh. He is amazing.
So therefore, this is why I'm here. People might think, well, have they got Carol Ann Whitehead? I'm here because of that. I can resonate with you guys. Yeah.
The beauty of athletics and sport, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm still competitive to this very, very day. So I'm going to kickstart straight into the questions. So today we're talking about resilience, all right? So first of all, it would be great to hear about sometimes in your lives when you've required resilience. Over to you, Siobhan.
How long have you got? I sort of picked out 3 big ones, 2 to do with sport, because that's mainly what I do all day, every day, and then 1 to do just with life. But I think like one of the biggest challenges that I faced was when I was 18, I moved to America for 4 years to pick up a scholarship and get my degree out there and play basketball out there. And you'd think that you think it would be like a seamless transition. The language is the same, the food's not that different, but it's just so different in so many ways. And it was tough. And on top of that, I didn't play at all like my first 2 years. So my freshman year and my sophomore year, I barely got on the court. I was basically there as like, they were paying like a cheerleader to be there and like cheer for the rest of the team. So I think like that was a big thing for me. I was really far away from home. I'm quite like a homebody. I rely a lot on my family. And yeah, there was just some days when I woke up and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? Like this far away. And I just had to keep reminding myself, and my family were great at that as well, and my friends, just reminding myself of like why you're there and to try and experience the positive side of what I'd gone there for. And I think that was like one of the first things that I had to really sort of dig my heels in and try hard to just keep putting one like positive foot in front of the other. Then the other one was in 2012, this is the other basketball one. I got dropped from the Olympic team for the London Olympics. And I feel like when you talk about like real life experience, it's hard to explain as a sports person that actually like these moments are so devastating. And you know, everything's relative, right? So I hadn't had a like big loss in my family or anyone that was close to me up to this point. I'd had a really supportive family. I'd been really, really lucky. And I think this was the first time when I was just like floored, like on my backside, for want of a better word. Yeah, just, you know, there was just a lot with it. I'd worked so hard for it. You know, the rejection, there came like a bit of embarrassment with it, the guilt, because I really wanted to make my family proud, and they were already proud, obviously, but in your own mind, you know, there was just so many emotions that came with it, and a lack of motivation to get back on the ball and wanting to try and I just saw someone new, Nottingham Wildcats. Ooh, I just saw that in the chat, sorry. Yeah, and just needing to get back on it and trying to sort of figure out a way to do that. And I know we're going to talk about that later, so I won't like go into that, but that was another sort of time that I'd really sort of needed people around me and needed resilience and like needed to rely on myself to sort of get back on it. And then the last one was, well, I'm still sort of in this period, but it's like a real life one, is just before lockdown, my mum passed away. So she'd been poorly for a couple of years. And she was like a massive part of my life, and just of my life connected with basketball. So that's kind of really difficult at the minute as well. I have anxiety around playing the sport that I love for the first time ever in my life. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't want to go to practice. I get upset, like walking in the gym. It's very strange. But yeah, again, like I mean, women's sports, just like Marilyn, like everyone's just been amazing like throughout this time. So yeah, that would be the other big one that I'm just sort of stuck in at the minute and trying to like get out of that one. So
that's huge, and thank you for sharing that, because I know exactly what you know, a huge part of your life no longer there anymore. I know exactly what you mean. And it's not that long ago, so you know, our condolences in relation to that. But yes, resilience from, you know, going over to the States and climatizing. You know, you basically really had to climatize. And how tall are you? Just a random question.
Yeah, I'm not actually that tall. I'm always the smallest one on the team, so I'm like 5'9" and a half. 5'9" and a half.
Tall to me.
Yeah, Well, that the some of them are quite tall, a lot taller, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm always tiny.
Especially when you go stateside.
Yeah, the tallest
Exactly.
the tallest on my team was like 6 foot. Well, there was one girl on the GB team that was 6'7".
Wow.
No.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna throw the question over to you, Marilyn. So, it'd be great to hear about the times in your life when you required resilience as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I just would say I've lived a very nomadic lifestyle. Again, there's been many moments where the environment that I'm in, I often find myself the only black girl in the room, or just so different. So it's just adapting to that, much to like what Siobhan's just said. But to pick out moments, I would say right now, for everyone, it's a time of extreme emotional resilience. So I'm really having to dig deep on, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get back to Tokyo? That's just been taken away from me yet again. In 2014, I pulled my hamstring. It happened again in 2015 and 2016. And this time, similar to Siobhan, I went out to America. I will go wherever I need to be to realize my dream. So when I had Groundhog Day of pulling my hamstring and having amazing winters and thinking this is going to be my year, and then it happens again and it happens again. So in 2017, what did I do? I moved back home, support networks here, moved to Wigan in 2018, let's go for Tokyo. So there's been lots of times in my life where, my circumstances have not matched my vision and my dream, but I've just known deep down that this is what I want, and this is, what I'm chasing for. So I think it's just been, times where I've had to just really dig deep. Growing 2012, I'd have to recall, it was a very difficult, controversial Olympic year for me, because I am a 2-time Olympian, but a controversial decision meant that I was going. Politics meant that I wasn't going to get to run. And, everyone's got their divided opinions on that, but just being in the Olympic Village, everyone looks back at 2012 and they just have the best memories of it. For me, it's a nightmare, to be honest. I've got a lot of trauma attached to it. The first time I felt injustice in my sport, the first time I felt, personally attacked, but I needed to be there for my teammates. I wasn't going to be, I'm not going, I'm not taking up that honour. To be 20 minutes away from home, it was very easy to just, leave Stratford and just go home. But I wanted to show up, and I'm glad I did, because there were times where, I was the only person in our apartment, and people coming back from heartbreak. People don't realise when you leave that media zone, however it's gone, you're needing to process those feelings. So that was a particularly poignant time that I'm still processing and dealing with now. If I go back even further, I was, in care for so many years when I was a youngster. So just, there's been lots of times, and I think it's only when you reflect, you realise actually, wow, I've had to be really resilient. And I think inherently athletes adapt to that.
Do you think, thanks for sharing that as well. And do you think that there's a layering process with that? That's not one of the questions there, but I just think certain things happen and it's layered, to help us sort of deal with this. Because let me just curve it right back. How has your attitude towards resilience changed throughout your career?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I think I actually realise now it's a state of being. I think it's much like faith, it's a muscle. And at different times, you're going to have different, levels of feeling resilient and not feeling resilient, and that's okay.
Great analogy.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be nurtured and developed. And, it's about calling on the people that you need to be around you to remind you of your why and who you are, when you are feeling at your lowest points. So my attitude has definitely changed. I think when I was younger, it was just about getting back out there, bouncing back, comeback queen. Whereas now it's a lot more sort of awareness of who I am and how I want to be in those circumstances.
And stateside Siobhan.
Yeah, I'd sort of echo the same thing. I think my sort of journey with resilience has been like similar in a sense that when I was younger, I was more like often just annoyed, and like the anger would drive me, and I'm like, oh, you don't think I'm good enough? Oh, right, okay. And I'm like, and I just don't stop. And like that's how it was. And I think, like, Marilyn, I've sort of learned to take a step back from the emotions of it when you can, because you can't always. And I do that often by talking to other people, because I struggle to do that myself still. I struggle to take myself out of the situation and look at it for what it is. But I think I've sort of started to realize that actually it's really important to have emotions around resilience and to use those for motivation. But that also, like, I've started to find like a balance of like having a logical approach to it as well, and trying to sort of like upskill myself and recognize the areas in which I need to get better in order to not have that like fall again. And sometimes you can't control those things. Sometimes those falls happen anyway. But I found that if I try to sort of use my emotions around it, not control them, because I think you should always feel your emotions, and also try to be like logical as well alongside of that, that I can try and deal with whatever comes next in a better way the next time, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was trying to sort of cut out Rocky. Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and it's a nice segue to what I'm coming up to here, which is when times are really tough, where do you find the strength to face up to it all?
Again, I think in the beginning I was definitely just myself. Like I sort of was the kind of person that would isolate myself, not talk about things, just try and like power through, like Marilyn said. But I think, you know, as I've sort of got older, and especially like with mum, I've recognized I can't do this on my own. It's just not possible. So I think, you know, some of the things that I've learned are just to take more of like a holistic approach to looking after myself. So even like little things like sleep and meditation, like really finding like what time I'm creative in the day, because sometimes, like especially now with like what I'm dealing with at the moment with mum, I just feel like flat, like I don't want to do anything, like I just cannot be bothered. And it's bizarre because I've never been like that before. So I think I know that like nighttime is my creative time. So I try to like really figure out when I can get stuff done and feel good about getting stuff done. I think that's been important to recognize when I can do that as well. And then the other thing that I found really important at the moment is just setting like really like small, minute goals, because before it was like, okay, I'm going to the Commonwealth Games, and like it was like a massive goal, and I just can't cope with big goals right now, and that's okay. And I just have to learn, like today I'm going to get through today, I am going to go on my bike, and I'm going to try and I don't know, like I've got to finish my website, Marilyn, oh my gosh. I know. And like do a page on my website, you know, like a small thing.
Yeah. Marilyn.
So for me, it's definitely, there's two things I draw on. One is my faith. I just, you know, for me, it's just being still. I think if anything in lockdown, one thing that's shown, that's just, you've got to take that time to be still. I often say it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. And I think we've noticed that, you know, things are not in our control. And that's one of my rules of life, just control the controllables. So my faith as a Christian is paramount, because, you know, there's reminders that I'm constantly getting from, you know, reading my Bible and praying and meditating and just taking that time to be still and connect with where I get my strength from, which is God. Secondly is community. For someone who has had this nomadic lifestyle, I have moved around since the age of 3. Community is something I crave, and, you know, loneliness is something I battle all the time. So whether it's my church family, you know, starting lockdown with kicking off the Unlock program, I found 41, you know, new sisters. It's not a surprise. Siobhan and I are on this resilience panel from day one. We sat next to each other, and it was just like, you love green, I love green, you love the number 4, I love number 4. But there was something, you know, our energy was the same, and, you know, it's our experiences and it's our drive. And so community is amazing. And I'm very blessed. You know, I always try and think of what I do have and what I'm grateful for when I'm feeling at my lowest, and it is some amazing connections. Here again, making more amazing connections, like Carol Ann, sorry, stop with me now. And that's, you know, they're the people that are going to remind you of who you are, you know, and, you know, whether I run again or not, they're the people that's going to love you unconditionally. So definitely faith and community.
Yeah, I totally agree, right across the board. Something popped up in the chat there. Kim Vaughan said it's easy to focus on the what we call the failures or the negative. You know, you should really sort of look at the successes, and that, you know, you've made a choice and you've moved forward and you've made those connections and you're able to find time for yourselves. Never stop that. Never stop that. So I'm going back to the set question here. Have you learned where to find support in difficult times? You've kind of answered that, you know, or techniques to cope. Siobhan said about meditating. Are there anything else that you do?
So I try to meditate. I'm so bad at it. I can't sit still for a second. And then it's one thing that's really nice actually that I've learned about meditating is that it's a bit like emotions. Like, it's okay to think thoughts, but then you just have to recognize that you're thinking them and try and let them pass through. Because I think as an athlete, you just want to get everything perfect. It's like, oh, I'm thinking again. I need to not think, I'm meditating. So it's just about being kind to yourself and like kind in that process. But so other strategies, it sounds like a really simple one, like Marilyn said, but it's just learning like how to ask for help, because I was really bad at that. And how to actually just say, I'm not feeling great today. Can you help me? Can you talk to me? Because usually I'm the kind of person where I'll bottle it up, and then just like explode. So that's really been helpful, just learning like the words to say to ask for help. Like I said before, finding your creative time, setting smaller goals. And then I think like one thing that's really helped me is I have an app on my phone. It's called Calm. And I listen to like a sleep story every night, because going to bed is the time when my brain is most just like thinking of everything. And sometimes I can't switch off. And honestly, it is like just, I don't know, having a bottle of whiskey and fall. It's like I can't even get to the end of a sleep story. I get like 2 minutes in and I'm gone. It's great.
Is it an app? Is it an app?
Yeah, called Calm.
Calm. Oh, I think I've seen it. Lovely. Is it Cillian Murphy's popped up a couple of times?
Yeah.
Yeah, and his voice is lovely. I just love his. I love the Irish accent, and just don't tell my husband. Anyway, Marilyn, techniques to cope. You're a Christian, so that's to do with sort of reading scriptures or praying.
Yeah.
Sort of planning and hoping and laying things out so you know what path and what journey you're on.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think with finding techniques, it's self-awareness is important, and knowing what is going to be realistic for you. So I would love to sit here and say, oh my God, I read 10 scriptures a day. I have the Bible app. It's very practical, and I love the devotion. So I do for a lot of devotions, and, you know, I might pick a book to study, and, you know, I'm not going to put pressure on how long it's going to take to get through that book. But if I'm just doing little chunks every day, and I often start with worship because it sets the atmosphere. I love to sing. I'm a jazz and gospel singer. And sometimes I don't feel like praying because what I'm dealing with is so much, or I don't know, you know, where to start. But I start with a song that I absolutely love, and that just gets me, you know, that just allows me to be calm and be still. And then I go from there and just have that conversation I need to have with God, if it's a rant, if it's a cry. And, you know, it's something I would love, especially women, to do, is take away the should. I should be doing this, or it looks like this. And I know it's so hard with society now, but, you know, something I've taken up is yoga. I am as muscly as anything. I always ran away from yoga because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm too stiff. But I just make it my practice, and I find the yoga teachers that can relate to me and give me lots of different alternatives. And then I find my own flow, and I put on my music, and, you know, and then I find, you know, it's just being consistent with it and keeping going. So that's why it's got to be realistic and something that you actually enjoy and feel like you will want to yearn for when you're feeling like that. It's like, okay, I just need that walk, or I just need to hear that song, or I need to just have that quiet time with God. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And you know, even if you're not religious, just finding your time, it's good to try different things.
Yes.
To see what calms you and calms you down.
Yeah.
My friend does pole dancing.
Amazing.
Cheshire housewife, she does pole dancing, and she invited me, you know, it'll relax you. Now, as far as I can see, all that is me like a Cumberland sausage around a toothpick. I am not
So cute.
doing pole dancing. But what I did was I started doing it. I think it's called Qigong.
Oh wow!
Have you heard of Qigong?
I have, yeah, from my
I haven't.
I love that. I'm doing it. I'm kind of doing it now. Just like shaking down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We'll have another Queen Bee series where we just do a bit of Qigong in our boxes. Right. So, what advice would you share with the women leaders on this call? You know, on the topic of resilience. Some nugget of advice. Come on, ladies. Can I have some questions, please, for Siobhan and for Marilyn?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Alyssa's asked for Queen Bee dancing series.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm there.
Make that happen, yes. Go on, Siobhan. What advice?
What advice? So I think, like, for me, it's just, I think we really have to just use what makes us so amazing as women. So, like, all the things that you're taught to be ashamed of, like, oh gosh, she's so emotional. Well, actually, no, like, it's really, yeah, I'm actually passionate. And actually, like, that's what's going to get me through. So you can hold your feelings in all you like, because that's what you've been taught to do for your whole life. And maybe that's an issue that, you know, from like a male perspective, we need to like look at as well. But like, it's okay for me to be emotional, and actually that's what's going to get me out of the funk that I'm in right now. So I just say, like intuition, like, use your intuition, listen to yourself, listen to others around you. You know, it's use your women's intuition. Things like, oh gosh, women are so good at multitasking. Yeah, we are. Like, we juggle so many things. We're amazing. And sometimes it's just knowing like when to put some of those things down, when to pick some of those things up. But I just use all of those things that make us such amazing, like, humans and women, and use them to our advantage. And I think when we like really tap into those strengths as females, I think like there's just so much like power that can come from it, especially when we do it together.
Amazing. I'd have to say, find a positive. And you know what? I read an amazing quote. I don't know who it was, sorry, but you know, staying positive doesn't always mean that you're happy, but it means that you're going to keep going and you know that this is going to pass. So it's about finding that positive, whether it's just looking at, hey, I've got this and I've been through this before and I'm going to come out the other side. And that links into be fearless, or simply choose to fear less. I think fear is the biggest dream killer. It keeps you paralyzed where you are, and it's about, you know, motion and just taking, no matter how tiny that step is, taking that step forward. So be fearless like we are. You know, just echoing what Siobhan just said there, own your emotions and go out there and be unapologetic, be unapologetically you.
Yeah, definitely. Someone's just said about why is being emotional seen as a negative or a bad word. Didn't catch the series of numbers, but basically it's one of the bravest emotions. You know, oh, it's Danielle, lol. Put your name in your section so I can name check you, Danielle. Anyway, there's a fantastic question come up here, right? So I'm going to look down to read it. I'm not being rude, but it's a very intelligent question. Throughout your careers, are psychologists only available or offered if there is something wrong? Or do you guys experience working with mental health coach in a proactive way in the same way? That's a great question. Yeah. Did you catch the drift?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Danielle's question. Oh, look at you now, hogging it now, Danielle. It's Danielle's question. I think that's great. When times are great, mental health coach, as well as when things are wrong.
Do you want me to say that first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I am super passionate about athlete welfare. So I just feel like, I mean, my first experience with a sports psychologist was extremely negative, because I think running was my escape. It was the thing that, you know, was going well. And actually I needed help with life around, you know, sport, outside sport, because that impacts the athlete that I am. And the first sports psychologist I had said, I can't deal with anything other than your performance. So I think, that automatically gave me a bit of a, oh, okay, you can't help me then because I'm an intelligent young girl. I know how to run my 800 meters. That's what I'm an expert in. I need help with managing, you know, who I am on and off the track. But actually it is about, you know, coaches and governing bodies recognizing and knowing their athletes and putting those support systems in place. And I think I'm moving towards, you know, athletes really understanding who they are and having that 360 support, because it isn't there. I think there's so much emphasis on performance and the business and the politics of it, and forgetting that we're humans first. So there's a lot of work to be done on well-being, in my opinion. How about you, Siobhan?
Siobhan?
Yeah, no, I definitely sort of like echo that. I think like Marilyn and I have like lucky in a way, because we've been in both places where you know, the old-fashioned place where like coaches were like proud if you like threw up in their conditioning session. It's like, oh yeah, I got one, I made them throw up, like, you know, where things that just, I used to come down from some of my sessions in America and like look at my teammates and be like, is that okay, like was that against our human rights, like should we be doing stuff like that? Like, you know, like some of the stuff was so extreme. So I think we've sort of seen that side of coaching, where just a complete disregard for like mental health and selection processes, and oh yeah, you're out like in front of the whole team, and just not really caring how you like deal with your deselection. And I think like now we're starting to move towards looking at like the mental well-being of athletes, and not just seeing them, you know, as people or commodities that can win us medals or that can do things for our sport and our governing body. And I do think we're starting to move away from that. But I think just like life in general, we've always, you know, the physical side of things, it's easy to see, it's easy to cope with and deal with. You know, you go to the doctor, you fix it, whatever, or you know, prevent it from happening by like prehabbing. But I think like just in life in general, we do neglect like our mental health. And I think that follows through in sport. And I think, you know, like people like Marilyn are doing an amazing job to try and really make sure that governing bodies are held accountable for how they make athletes feel. So yeah, I would say like in the past, it's definitely been, oh gosh, you've had a bit of a breakdown there, go and talk to someone. But hopefully we're moving towards like a healthier model of, you know, just a constant support of mental health. Because we go through the day, just a normal day, you're not going to injure yourself or like physically hurt yourself every day, but every single day there's something that challenges you mentally, or like it's just, you know, it's just life, isn't it? But we haven't got to the stage yet where we're dealing with that. But yeah, like Marilyn said, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. You know what? I think you've warmed up the audience.
Oh, they're coming through.
Now the questions are coming thick and fast. I feel like I'm at Waitrose at the conveyor belt trying to scan everything. Right. Question for Marilyn. Waitrose. That's because I was there this morning.
I was going to say, I go to Aldi. Check you out, Waitrose.
I was going to say, I'm little still.
I look for the yellow sticker where everything's cheaper and reduced. Got to eat it today. All right. So, how are you maintaining your community, Marilyn? This is a question from Natalie. Whilst in lockdown and unable to see friends and family in person, because I get a bit of a hint of you're a southern lass, aren't you?
I am. North Wheezy fam. I'm from northwest London, behind Stonebridge Park. That is where my mum, my brother, my sister are. It's a struggle. I can't say I am struggling with the isolation. I do work for the Brick, so I'm a key worker, and to be honest, my colleagues have been incredible. But I come back to these four walls and it's just me, and I'm single, but I have got an amazing puppy. But I do have an amazing tribe, and they will check in. And the importance of having a tribe, because they're the people that you can, you know, like Siobhan touched on it, like it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to say you're not okay. So they're the people that can tell, you know, when I'm just saying I'm fine, and, you know, can actually what is really going on. Or the people that I you know, have to hold me accountable. So I'll tell them, you know, even if it's just an emoji, this is how I'm feeling, and they check in. So thank God for technology, as much as I complain about screen time, and, you know, but it's so important to stay connected in that way. And if I need to, I'm gonna, you know, if I need to move again, I need to move again. So it's just making sure that I'm continually keeping lines of communication open, and someone knows what's going on with me at you know, at various times.
That's good. Well, Ruth has got a question. Because you've been speaking, Marilyn, I'll aim it at Siobhan, routine in lockdown has been essential.
Yeah.
It helped with everything, both physically and mentally. What about yourself? Because Ruth likes a bit of routine from what she's been saying in the chat.
Yeah, I think sort of as an athlete, your life is built around a routine, and like, it is really like helpful. But I think one of the things like for me in lockdown was just allowing myself to go out of my routine for a little bit, and to just like veg, like I said, because mum sort of passed away before. It was a bit of a weird lockdown for me. So like the first part of lockdown, I was just sort of, you know, doing the whole like sofa and a pint of Ben and Jerry's type thing. And then I did find actually that, you know, especially because I've got a new job as like a director of a basketball academy. So in the beginning, it was sort of trying to find a routine with that during lockdown. I'm like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? But again, I just approached it as an athlete. And yeah, you're right. Like, Ruth, routine is so important, and that's when I sort of got back on my feet. I bought myself a new notebook because I love buying notebooks and things.
Yeah.
Got from Paper Chase. I got a few notebooks. There you go. What have I got today? I've got this one.
Oh, my brain has
too many tabs open. Nice.
You got this. Everyone's got this.
Yeah, and then I just literally wrote down, like, I planned out a day, and I wrote down, you know, just generally what I wanted to achieve, like in the first part of the day, middle part of the day, end part of the day. And following that, I really just got myself back on track. Yeah, so routine is just really important to survive anything, I think.
Oh, that's fantastic. The three of us should have a bit of a stationary trip somewhere. A bit of a paper chase rifle, I think that'd be great. A message from Sarah, a question from Sarah. Is there anything we can do from the non-sport world to support women athletes like yourself? You are both inspirational. Those are her words, but I echo them wholeheartedly. You're both inspirational. What can we do? I mean, I'm sending you both mama vibes out. I'm here for you. What else can we do?
So I'll go first, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I think it's inspirational for us, especially both Siobhan and I, at that period where we're transitioning out of sport, don't know quite when. So having you guys as mentors is amazing and super inspiring. There's lots of practical things, like I think, you know, sponsorship is a very, very difficult thing for athletes to get their head around, and especially in track and field. You know, there's very few that are actually making a comfortable living out of you know, these races. And then 2020 happened and our races were taken away. So, you know, if you do see us have appeals for sponsorship, you know, anyway, introductions, you know, if you know a company that would, you know, see the value in having an athlete on board, whether just sponsoring them with the future of working for them, it's just, you know, there's practical ways like that. It broke my heart seeing so many athletes this year having to do their GoFundMe campaigns and no one was really taking note. So things like that, I myself, I'm working every hour God sends, and sometimes it's so hard balancing working in a really quite traumatic environment, but I love to serve, I love to help, but then there's nothing left for me. So, you know, just there's practical ways, just getting in touch, hearing our stories, sharing our stories. You know, your network is so powerful. So thank you.
And there's a question here from Kim. How do you recognise when you need to take a step back and regroup psychologically and avoid waiting for the emotional explosion? I find it to be a physical rather than an intellectual one, but interested to hear how you both do it. And I know we're rolling out of time, but I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I'll go because my answer's short in that I haven't really figured that out myself yet. I think I just I like run my tank to empty and then that happens. But I would say again, just the app that I was talking about before, Calm, it has this like area where you can it's an emoji based thing, but you can also write notes where like each night before you do your sleep story, you can check in with yourself, think about how your day's been, and you know, put an emoji. Do you feel anxious, angry, sad, like and look at it from like a simple sort of emotional like point of view. What's your day been like? And then also then just reflecting and writing a few like notes a little more in depth on how your day has gone. I'm finding that's helping me to like preempt those sort of like combustions, I guess, because I'm actually able to see how I'm feeling each day, and visibly being able to see it really helps me as well for some reason, like seeing it in an emoji form and then also being able to write it down. So I guess it's just an emotions diary, maybe, would you call it?
Yeah, I would echo all of that. I think for me, you know, the body is so amazing and it's telling us stuff. So if I just go to, you know, before a race, we feel nervous and, you know, you might be sweaty. For me, it's like I have real physical manifestation of that. And it's the body preparing. And often, like a lot of the injuries I've had in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I thought they were from overtraining. Some of them were, but a lot of them were signs of stress. So I would say just be in tune with yourself, and your body is definitely communicating something to you. I often feel when I feel the most discomfort, it's for a reason, and it's often I'm doing something I don't want to do, or I'm doing it because I feel like I should be doing it. And so I just try and align with what my body's trying to tell me, to try and avoid getting to that stage of combustion. But it's definitely been a journey, and just learning, you know, your triggers and trying to avoid that as best you can.
Okay, right. I've got a question here from Sarah. It's a great question. These are all great questions. You're all doing really well. Very proud of you all. How would you? I'm sorry, I've just been running Amazon delivery.
I love it.
So I can't believe I'm sat here admitting to athletes, I've run to the front door. Feel sorry for me.
It was a good PB.
Yeah.
There's no sympathy from you at all. I've just run to the front door. How would you sell the benefits of continuing with sport to teenage girls? Please sell that benefit. I've got a 14-year-old, and it's all that whole, you know, body conscious. She said to me, I was nearly in tears this morning, bearing in mind she models for Adidas. She got a contract with North Face. And this morning she said to me, I feel fat and ugly.
Oh.
I was nearly in tears. I was like, what? Even if she didn't model for those people, you know, where's it coming from? So yes, continue the sport to teenage girls at a time when they feel self-conscious. And Sarah says, my preteen is football mad, and I think she will continue playing because football is part of her sense of self. But I can really see some of her friends questioning whether they should carry on. And that's it. It's the peer pressure. They need the right peers, don't they?
Yeah, like, I mean, this is what I do, like, as a job every day. We have a basketball club and we work a lot with, it's a female only, like, club. The only area that has males is the academy area. And we see it all the time. And around that age is like the biggest dropout rate for girls to drop out in sport. I think what we found is just it's finding a community where that sport values using the sport to drive other things instead of just using the sport to win the game or to win the race or whatever it is. So those communities are invaluable because they're using sport to teach life skills, to teach resilience, to teach community, to teach communication and all of that. And I feel that when you find those environments, and for us, we've tried to create that environment, it's so much harder for the kids to leave because they're just like engulfed in it every day, and they see the benefits of why they're playing sport. It's not only to try and win the game, it's not just to win the race, it's because it's actually helping you to achieve things like personally and as a person, and to get better in how you know, deal with just things that come up in life, like every single day. So when if there's definitely a wider purpose to sport, I think that keeps girls involved, especially more because we care about that stuff too. Like, we care about how we are and who we are to other people, and what our friendships are like, and how we can get better as people, and what we can do to give back to the community. You know, we have a community program. So yeah, I think that's important, in just finding the right spaces for young, like, females to be in that are going to nurture that part of being involved in sport.
Thank you, Siobhan. Marilyn?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, never has there been a time where we need real role models? And that's something I pride myself on being. You know, coming into the British team when I did, you know, following in the wake of Kelly Holmes, amazing, but I was so much more muscular than the girls that I was racing. And when you have your governing body telling you you're too big to be an 800 meter runner, but you're number one in the country, I had to really sort of check myself then. And that's where my team and my environment was so important. But, you know, you're impressionable, you're young, wasn't really listening to them. But then I saw Serena Williams and she was owning, you know, oh, she's too aggressive and the media had this to say. And her comebacks every time just filled me with inspiration. And, you know, I go into schools across the country, I mentor, I'd love to talk to your daughter, Carol Ann, young ladies to, you know, about self-worth, and it's not in your performance. You know, for me, running made me feel invincible, and I had to hold on to that, and I had to make smart decisions for my body. It would have been easy to say, okay, let me just try and diet and try and be skinny, but that was so unrealistic. Nigerian, Igbo, genetics, you know, muscles are, you know, what I should pride myself on, and that was what I was winning with. So it's such a, you know, a subject that, you know, myself and Siobhan were so passionate about, you know, being real role models for the future young ladies coming through. And sport is such a powerful way of, you know, defining who you are in this world.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to echo like that as well, because I think one thing that we found is that we have to, especially with people that are really talented, they have to have something else. They can't, like, you can't, like Marilyn said, whether you win or lose can't be linked to your self-worth. It just can't, like, it's not the right, it's not going to work. And so it's about finding different wins within sport and celebrating when they actually win, but you know, putting them in a situation where they can go and read to primary school kids, making them the role models, like giving them the power to give back. It gives them more of a perspective of what's important in life, and it isn't just winning medals, but that is amazing, and use your God-given talents, but that shouldn't be linked to your self-worth.
One of my hashtags, I use lots of hashtags, is see me, be me, you know, and that is just really, really powerful. Ladies, we've come to the end of our time together, but not we can continue. We are now firm friends. We are firm friends. So I want to thank Siobhan and Marilyn wholeheartedly for their time today. And before I hand back to Sally, I am going to say one of my, again, back to Twitter, the pinned quote on my Twitter feed is that you can only truly become accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing and do them so well that people can't take their eyes off you. That is the amazing Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou.
I love that. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Just to say a few words then, I'll just come in. Hello, thank you. I've written pages of stuff that's like just words of wisdom. And what's really interesting is so many things that you have said, I've heard from other athletes as well, just really important things about the honesty and the authenticity with which you approach things. And I just think if you will undoubtedly, if other young girls watch this, they will be inspired. Never mind, I'm girls, I'm an old woman and I'm inspired. So I really just want to thank you so much, and to Carol Ann for lovely, funny, uplifting, and yet really poignant, really interesting and inspiring talk. Thank you so much, all three of you. Just a couple of extras. Thanks again to Alliance Business School as well for their tech support. Thank you to Women's Sport Trust for working with us, especially to Laura Weston and all the Unlocked athletes. I mean, you're just amazing. Please don't forget to donate to the Pankhurst Trust if you can. We really do need help. The women that we work with, especially at this time. Thank you to everyone who has donated and to the corporate sponsors we've had for this series. And you can save the chat, as Claire Marie said at the beginning of the call, to get the links that were mentioned on the call, or open the link now so you can come back to it afterwards. Again, I really hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I could quote millions of bits from it, but I'm not going to, because you've done it all much better than I would. And you can stay in touch with us on social media, and do sign up to get information about the next series of Radical Thinking, Radical Times, because we will be back probably in the early new year now, and we'll be putting out information about that as well. So I'm not going to say any more. Thank you so much to Siobhan, Marilyn, Carol Ann, and to everybody who's enthusiastically joined in this series and this chat today. And I hope that you'll all join us again next time. Thank you very much, and good luck to you too in your sports.
Thank you.